Welcome to the Fifth Estate, a conversation between young African scholars from the Fort Hall School of Government and Professor Mutahi Ngonyi. Today we send a letter to the Jubilee Party regarding their merger with a blind copy to Raila Odinga, and we'll get straight to the point. According to Niccolo Machiavelli, getting to the top is not the problem. Staying at the top is the difficult part. And this is because the greatest danger happens at the time of victory. And now that you're a victor as the Jubilee Party, you're also at the time of greatest danger.
My question has to do with the distinction between a merger and an acquisition. The alliance of TNA, URP and other affiliate parties has been called a merger. But is this a merger or is it an acquisition? My understanding of the difference is that a merger is the formation of a union between two or more entities that are equal in size under a new name. An acquisition, on the other hand, is the purchase of a smaller entity by a larger entity within the market. Looking at the political parties that have dissolved to form JP, what is the value proposition that each political entity brings into this union?
Good question. This is both a merger and an acquisition. The merger is between URP and TNA, and the value proposition that both of the parties bring into the political marketplace is 6.7 million votes. And we must also add that there are up to over 3.6 million voters from both the Gema nation and the Kalenjin nation who have not been registered yet. And so when I say that they need to do the honeymoon very quickly and get back to work, it is largely because they need to go and mobilize these 3.6 million voters in order to increase their value proposition, that's the merged parties, into 10 million or thereabout. But the acquisition, on the other hand, is between the two big parties and the little 11 parties they have collected, whose value proposition, because we have calculated the total number of votes, is only about 300 to 400,000 voters. And even then, those votes are not guaranteed.
If it is not a merger and it's an acquisition, what is the end game? And whose end game is it? Is the intention to create noise around the merger a tactic to destabilize the enemy? Is it a political marketing strategy? Or does the JAP merger signify a return to Moism without Moi, as some have argued?
Is this a return to Moism without Moi? The ones who are arguing that can only be said to engage in intellectual laziness and in conjuncture history. And I say so because what they are telling us is that the more the political parties, the more democratic a country is. The lesser the political parties, the lesser democratic it is. And why that is laughable is because DR Congo has about 600 political parties, and all of them will have a presidential candidate. And that's the reason why their ballot papers are almost 90 to 100 pages. Now, is that democracy? But when you go to a country like the US, you have only two dominant political parties. Even in the UK, the same thing. So the advanced democracies tend to move more towards unification of political parties.
This is the first footnote to Raila. His best bet for now is surrender, not martyrdom. According to Robert Greene, when faced with a more powerful opponent and assured defeat, it is better to surrender than to fight or run away. Matthew 5:38-41 says, if someone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek as well. And if someone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. If someone forces you to go 1 kilometer with them, go with them 2 kilometers. The wise man benefits more from his enemies than a fool from his friends.
Every opportunity that presents itself to Raila Odinga to shut up regarding the JAP merger, he should grab it with dear life. Because the more he whines about this particular merger, the more he sounds desperate. The more he whines, the more he looks like he is scared of it. And instead of looking scared, he should just give it the contempt card and just move on. So in my view, the idea of surrender is one of saying, look, I will go and hide for now because I don't know what this tide is, and I'll come out and fight later. And I think that that is his best strategy.
Every election in Kenya since 2002 has been driven by a particular doctrine. In 2002, it was anti-Moi. In 2007, it was anti-Gema. And in 2013, it was anti-ICC and the imperialists. What these examples have in common is that Kenyans are anti-hegemonic. They vote against big things. Do you think that the Jubilee Party, in its bigness, is setting itself up to be the next object of aggression?
Humongous political undertakings like the JAB merger are likely to attract either adoration or repulsion. They attract repulsion if the execution of this particular undertaking is done using a lot of exhibitionism and braggadocio, especially after the merger. However, after the wedding on Saturday, if JAP leaves Kasarani and they go out there in humility, they will attract adoration as opposed to repulsion. Do recall that the big and dominant are always called upon by the gods to carry a big stick but speak with a small voice.
This is the second footnote for Raila, drawn from a story written in 120 AD. Once upon a time, there was a tyrant king called Hero. And one day, while in a heated argument with his enemy, he was told that his breath stinks. Shocked and embarrassed, he went home and asked his wife, "Why have you never told me that I have bad breath?" To which the wife replied, "My lord, I thought all men's breath smelled like yours." The moral of the story, Raila, is that if your breath stinks, your fellow leaders will not tell you. Sometimes it takes your enemies to reveal these truths to you.
I think ODM is currently going through a Machiavellian moment. This is a moment in which one would say that the party is pregnant with promise, but there's no midwife to deliver this particular baby. I think to a large extent, people have looked at, within ODM, have looked at Raila and they have said that maybe he will not make it. But they're afraid of telling him that. They're afraid of telling him, boss, your breath is not particularly fresh. It's not be useful for purposes of romancing the girl.
According to Machiavelli, those who live on the mountains have the best view of the plains, and those who live on the plains have the best view of the mountains. The message to Raila Odinga, therefore, is this: don't seek strategy from the people who live on the mountains, i.e. fellow leaders. Go to the ones who live on the plains, i.e. the people. As Napoleon Bonaparte says, the men who have changed the world have never gotten there by working on leaders, but rather by moving the masses. Working the leaders only leads to secondary results. Working on the masses, however, is a stroke of genius that changes the face of the world.